So the last episode in this series was quite successful with regards to building the cash that we have to spend in this series. Although none of it has sold yet, I have had a lot of interest, and I'm sure it's just a matter of time before something I picked up in the last episode sells. Together with the stuff that we picked up to sell, of course, I picked up a game for the collection, Killer is Dead, on the 360, and that unfortunately was the only pickup I had to put into the collection. Fingers crossed today, though, I can pick up more than just one game to put into the collection. This episode kind of picks up where the last one left off. We are in Gloucester. That's where I was in the last episode, of course. This is the Gloucester CeX. I didn't visit a single CeX store in the last episode, which is very unlike me if I go to a town that isn't my own. And to be fair, it's unlike me if I go to my own town. Is it a Retroid Pocket or something of that nature behind there? 370 quid, and they've got it behind a sort of OG Game Boy. This is the 360 section. Did I find anything worth picking up? Well, to be fair, I did find something worth picking up. I really like this game. Burnout Revenge, £10, which is in and around the price it has been for the last year or so, because I always look at it if I ever see it in stock anyway. And I decided to leave it, because of course, if I'm using my credit that I've built up so far, which is on screen for you now, because I've completely forgotten how much I have, I think it's 70 something. If I was using that for just buying games, that would probably be one of the games on the list. Don't know why I looked up a cricket game, although I'm not adverse to playing a cricket game. I don't like cricket, like, at all. It's probably one of my least favourite sports if I had to pick one. But, you know, playing the games, a bit like rugby, really. Don't like that either, but I would play the games. So, obviously, you know what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for promo games, but I'm more than happy to just flick through and see if there's anything that catches my eye. I am, again, not against really using cash here if I find something affordable. So, for example, if I was to, okay, maybe not that game, but if I was to find something like a fiver that I don't see that often that I want to put into the collection, I'm more than happy to just spend cash on it rather than using the credit. I'm saving the credit, as you all know, for the Series X. So how that game is £28, I'll never know. But there we are. So I don't really want to be using it on things like Burnout Revenge or Monopoly as I'm flicking through there. Megamind, for example. I want to save it for that console. I will add to that credit as we move along through the series. And I may or may not be adding a fairly substantial amount to it in today's episode. So Rambo. £18. This is also a game that I may very well have spent the credit on had I been using the credit for games. Never played that on the 360. Know absolutely nothing about it whatsoever. Pretty sure that game exists on the PS4 as well, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't spend the entire time I'm here looking at 360 games. I will move around the corner in just a second to something not as exciting, which is the Xbox One section. I know a lot of you are probably getting fed up of me just looking at just strictly Xbox stuff. I will branch out very, very shortly. Once I'm over the initial I need all the promo games, I will sort of move back into looking at PS4, PS5 and such. Maybe even get back into that Switch collection, but that is something for way in the future. Sherlock Holmes is actually a really enjoyable game. I don't know why, I just really liked it the first time I played it. This is the Xbox One section and the alternative cover for Evil Within. I was very curious to see whether it was the like a reversible cover, because of course I have this, I think, on the PS4, but I didn't know it was a reversible cover, so there we are, the more you know. The games on the Xbox are so much cheaper than they are on the PlayStation. I've had a few people ask me recently, would you recommend moving from collecting Xbox games to PlayStation games because of the rumour that Microsoft are going to bin the discs? And, you know, it depends on whether you're the type of person who doesn't mind having, you know, collections across multiple platforms. So if you're happy collecting for like Xbox 360 and then you're worried that Microsoft are going to bin off the Xbox One game, so you want to collect for the PS4, then absolutely, maybe do that. And if you're the type of collector who wants your collection to be worth something in the future, there is a very strong chance that Microsoft will stick around in terms of the console side of things, but they will just focus more on like Game Pass or something. So in that case, all of these games will remain cheap. But if you just want a massive library of video games, then in my opinion, collecting for the Xbox One Series X, for example, is just not the way to go, but it's a very good way to go. For me personally, I like having things that appreciate in value over time. I do the odd video every now and again of video games that I expect to go up in price or that have gone up in price recently. And that's partly because I kind of want my collection to be worth a lot of money. I want all the games I've bought already to now shoot up in value because I already own them. So of course I want them to be worth more than what they were when I bought them. But in terms of just why I collect things, one of the main reasons is I love having a library. So if you don't have that much money or you want to do this on a budget, the Xbox One and the Series X is the perfect system to collect for because the games are a fraction of the price, in most cases anyway, than they are on the PlayStation. They're obviously the same game, they have the same graphics, and most of them are now sort of cross-platform in terms of the multiplayer, so it just makes sense to collect for the Xbox if you're not too worried about the value going forward. Unfortunately, nothing for me in that CEX, no promo games, no games that were on the cheap that I fancied picking up. I didn't even look at the PlayStation section because at the moment, even if I were to find a game that I wanted to put into the collection, I don't think I'd be willing to spend the cash on it because it would just be too much to spend in CEX. And of course, I don't want to use my credit, so I left it and I went home. So I went back onto Vinted when I went home, had a little look through and spent the rest of what we had. So on screen are the figures, of course, that's what I had to spend on Vinted. That was left over from my PlayStation 1 bundle. If you are thrifty with this, you can make Vinted balance stretch quite far. I only had like, what was it? I don't know, 30 pounds, something in that region to spend, and I've managed to accumulate a lot of credit from that. So I bought 3 PlayStation 4 games, the first of which is Cities Skylines. Now this for me is one of my favourite games of recent times. I own this, but digitally. So I know a lot of people would be expecting me to keep this, and whereas I would like to, it trades in for a tenner, and at the moment I'm hell-bent on getting my Xbox One. We'll talk more about it in a second. Uncharted Collection, again here, a game I don't have, and a game that I would very much like to put into the collection in reasonably good condition as well. All these are trade-worthy. I haven't taken them just yet because they've only just arrived. And the final game, nothing exciting unfortunately, if they came out in this order. This is Lara Croft, Temple of Osiris. I had this once upon a time. I don't any longer. Because I tried it and I didn't like it. I don't think I'm a massive Tomb Raider fan in general. This isn't a Tomb Raider game as such. It's sort of a top-down job, but either way, I didn't really enjoy it. Now, out of those 3, what I would normally like to do here is maybe try and sell Lara Croft to get my money back, and then keep City Skylines and Uncharted. That is absolutely something that I would recommend doing, and something that I probably would have done in the past. However, on this occasion, because I am hell-bent on getting the credit, these all trade in for around £26. As I mentioned, they've only just arrived, so I haven't taken them in just yet. I will look to do that probably tomorrow before the values change. And I did mention City Skylines being one of my most favourite games of recent times. Absolutely love that game. And of course, there is a new one. I'm very confused about the new one. I've not really looked up a solid release date or anything, but I don't think it's out yet. And yet if you go on YouTube and have a look at content for it, there are loads and loads of videos of people just doing series and playing it as if it's been out for months. If you know anything about City Skylines 2, let me know in the comments. Is it out yet? Is it coming out in January? Is it out on PC but not coming out on console for a time? Just let me know. I then found myself in Asda. As I was in town looking through CEX, which you would have seen in my most recent video, I had a message pop up. And it was on Instagram, and they said, if you go to Asda right now, you can pick up Gollum on the PS4 for like £3, and it trades into CEX for a tenner. Well, I could only find it on the Xbox One. That's not it, that's it. And they didn't even have any stock, so I couldn't even see whether that one was worth doing it for, but unfortunately they didn't have it on the PS4. Thank you very much to you, if you're the guy who reached out to me. I saw it like on the off chance. I don't get notifications for Instagram, so I just happened to see it when I was on there walking to Asda, and yeah, thank you very much to you. Had a little look through their games. Since they moved it around in my Asda, I've not found one single game worth picking up, like trade fodder wise. They used to have like this sort of shelf where they would put all the games they were sort of binning off, if you will, and we've picked up like Far Cry and Republic Riders and things like that, various games along the way on that shelf in particular. Zelda. They moved it from one side of the media section to the other, and now that shelf doesn't exist anymore, and I don't know if it's just a massive coincidence or whether they don't do that anymore because they don't have the room. I really don't know. But either way, no Gollum for me, but they may be for you. If you've been to Asda recently, did you find a Gollum on the PS4? Maybe you found another game, let me know in the comments. Charity shops are normally a complete bust, but I found Zelda on the Wii for £6. This is £2 cheaper than CEX had it for, so I suppose it's a kind of win. Fruit Ninja VR for £6. I'm not sure whether that's cheaper than CEX. It probably is by 2. Again, I think it's £8 in CEX. I might be wrong. I've got no idea how much this is though. This is WWE SmackDown vs Raw 2008. That was only £2, and those were the only 2 games that were there new that I hadn't seen before. Literally as I was there, someone traded in 3 bagfuls of DVDs, but he also said, oh, there's some games mixed in there as well. First thing that ran through my mind was, how can you just give games away, right? But the other thing that ran through my mind was, I wonder if there are any games in there that I could buy. Maybe there are some 360 games. Maybe this guy used to work for Game. Maybe there's full of promo. Who knows? Could have been anything, right? Now, I did ask if I could have a quick flick through to see if there were any games in there that I wanted, and I was denied access.
No.
I kind of understand the reasoning, so apparently they need to be processed. Now, when it comes to electronics, most places anyway don't let you look through them when they first get donated because they need to be pat tested. They need to be once over to make sure that they're not going to blow up, and then of course they're liable. Now, a DVD isn't going to blow up. A video game isn't going to attack you in the night. So, I don't really understand too much why I wasn't allowed to and what processing means, although I do have a fair idea. They will be going on the CEX website for nearly every single one of these, at least the video games anyway, maybe the box sets, and they're going to put out a price between the voucher and the sale price, because that's where Zelda was, that's where Fruit Ninja was. So what they're going to do is have to scan it on the app, and of course if I pick out 3 or 4 games from this bag that I want to buy, they're not going to stand there and scan them on their CEX app, because then I know they know, and yeah, you get it, right? So they need to be processed through the CEX app is essentially what she was saying. So I've got no idea whether there were anything in there worth looking through or not. And of course, they're not going to go straight out the back and be processed straight away. It's just going to sit there until they get around to doing it. So I did go back in again just in case before I left town, but they hadn't been done. In fact, they were still by the till. So it is what it is. I do have some pickups to show you, hopefully anyway, in this episode. They haven't arrived yet, but they are out for delivery. But with that being said, this is the Bedminster CEX. I'm more than happy to, not name and shame necessarily. This is just a series of unfortunate events. So I'm in here looking through after a boot sale, and of course you know by now I'm looking for promo copies, and I'm happy, well, I'm not happy, but I do find one, and I will get to why I'm not happy about it in a second. This is Driver San Francisco, which is an absolutely phenomenal game for £6 promotional copy. I was so happy to find this because this is actually one of the ones I wanted the most. I don't actually have Driver in the collection full stop, and obviously I don't have it promo, so very happy to find it. They're only the second promo copy I found in a CEX since I've started looking. First one, of course, was Murder Soul Suspect, which I'm happy that I've picked up. And then I continued to look, and there were a few things here or there that I didn't mind and maybe thought, well, could possibly spend a couple of quid picking that up, you know, put some things into the collection. It's been a little while at this point anyway. I just bought Killer is Dead actually, so I did have one thing to put into the collection, and I thought I was going to have Driver to put into the collection as well, so I wasn't too sad about it. Looking through a few of the other games here, trying not to look at the same stuff that I do in every single CEX store. My hands tend to be drawn, or my eyes rather, are drawn to the same games every time. So if you think, well, I keep picking up that game, I don't know why, but it's because I'm drawn to it. A lot of these covers, spines if you will, were sun faded as well. And I went through this in the last episode. I keep getting caught off guard by sun faded games that I think are promo copies, because of course the promo is like a faded cover and a faded spine. It's like greyed out almost, and that's exactly what sun faded games look like. And yeah, kept getting caught out by it. But on this occasion, just the one. Now, where does the controversy lie here? Well, I'm going to play you some audio. Most of it you're not going to be able to hear. And I don't want to encroach on someone's privacy too much. So I won't play the entire clip. And like I said, most of it's going to be inaudible. However...
I'm really sorry, but we can't find that one.
Right, okay. Are you going to check the case at all, or are you just going to keep it to the side and wait to find it, or...?
We'll probably see if we can find it. If we can't find it, then the case will probably get thrown out.
So before I talk about this just a little bit more, I'm not going to go over the top about this because it's just the fact that they couldn't find the disc. Not the member of staff's fault at all. They actually got another member of staff to help them as well, so it wasn't just them going crazy and they couldn't find it. I'm not blaming them in the slightest. It is someone there's fault, if that makes sense. Someone has put it in the wrong place. Someone has stolen it. Someone has done something. But I'm not blaming the actual member of staff who served me, because I have been in the exact same situation myself when I worked in a video game store. It's a really horrible feeling to have to say that to someone, because you know you're going to disappoint them, and then there is a risk that they're going to kick off. Didn't kick off in this situation. I was a bit like, it's really annoying. If it was just driver, then it wouldn't be that big a deal because they're everywhere, right? I find them all the time. However, because it was a promo copy that I haven't found before, I was really frustrated. There are two massively frustrating things here for me. So the first of which was that when I asked what would happen to it, I fully expected to hear, well, it'll just sit on the side until we find it, and then it'll go back out on sale. But the reply I had was, well, it kind of was that, but it was also, and if we can't find it, it's going to go in the bin. So for me personally, I would have been more than happy there to just take the case. No, I wouldn't have paid £6 for it, because I'm not getting the game, and the, sort of the biggest draw of paying prices for video games is, believe it or not, having the video game. But I would have taken the case. But they weren't going to give me the case. I didn't ask, in fairness. Maybe they would have said, yeah, fine. But they need to give that. I couldn't expect them to give it to me without having another look. And they weren't going to do it there and then. They're going to get a member of management involved, and they're going to have to look for it and stuff. So they weren't going to give it to me there and then. That was frustrating. What's even more frustrating is the very next day, the price of that game went up. So it was £6, and then the next day it went up to 10. So now, not only am I going to have to look for the promo copy again, but when I eventually find it, chances are I'm going to have to pay £4 more than what I found it for in the first place. That is the cherry on the Driver San Francisco cake. Now, hopefully, if my delivery has arrived, we can flick through some pickups for this episode. So this parcel here was essentially sent to me by a subscriber. So the situation is, he reached out to me on Vinted, said he had a promo game up for sale, and did I basically want it? So I've paid £1 for this through Vinted, and then I've paid postage. So the price for this is on screen. After he sent it, he sent me a message and said that he's chucked a couple of other things in there as well. Now, the problem I have with this is, listen. So I don't know if you can tell, but something sounds shattered in here. It's probably just a case that's exploded, but I would imagine this has been thrown around quite a lot. Doesn't feel like there's any padding in there, which is fine. I didn't expect to be, well packaged or anything necessarily, but these delivery drivers, a lot of them don't care. So this may or may not go well. We'll have to wait and see what has happened to what case. Now, I don't know exactly what's in here. Right, so there we go. We can get into it now. I don't know which layer's which. Oh yeah, all of the cases have completely exploded. So there we go. Oh, is that padded? I don't know. So let me move that one to the side. Oh god, is that the one that's exploded? Yeah, that, ironically, the only one I care about in here has exploded, and the rest of them should be relatively fine. This is PGR4 bundle copy. Now, I don't actually own this. That is cracked. I don't own this. Disc is the other way around, so that looks like it was maybe attempted to be traded in at some point, and they rejected it. That's what they do sometimes when they spin them round. But that will go into the collection. Maybe I'll have to try and switch out the case for something else, because that is battered. But that was part of the deal. Now these two, first of which is going to be Simpsons Hit and Run. Now, you may be thinking, wow, he's giving you Simpsons Hit and Run for essentially free? Not quite. This doesn't have a disc, but despite the fact that it's got a very cracked case, I may have one I can switch out for this, I'm not sure. But it does have the manual, no game, and of course the insert, which is quite important. So I can either wait to get the game loose or something, or I can sell this as is. He said it's up to me to do what I want with it, so very, very much appreciated for that one. And then we come to this. Now you may be able to see that it is a tennis game. However, this is Virtua Tennis 4 promotional copy. This is probably one of the worst artworks I've ever seen. Why have they shrunk that down? But look at the state of this. I mean, that is absolutely horrific. It's been ripped on the corner there as well, which is a huge, huge shame. That's all cracked. Oh my days, look at that. I mean, that is shocking. Question, is the disc okay? It looks to be okay. Yeah, no scratches, no cracks or anything, so the disc is fine. The artwork has been ripped slightly, but it's fine. I can live with that. That's not too bad. But the one that I actually bought it for, not that it's any more spectacular than this, is this. This is F1 2010. Again, promotional copy. It has been absolutely obliterated one more time. The artwork on this one does actually look to be okay though, apart from that there, which I believe was already there anyway. But as I open it again, disc turned that way, so that does suggest that maybe they couldn't trade it. I think he might have said, maybe, I don't know, did he tell me that he tried to trade them and they wouldn't take them because they were promo copies? I can't remember. Either way, oh god, look at the state of it. I mean, there it is. So, thank you very much to the subscriber that reached out that said that I could essentially have those for a very minimal fee. And thank you for sending this so that we can try and make some of our money back as well. And of course, I'm not blaming you for what's happened here with regards to the delivery. It's just one of those things. We don't have a Vinted balance left anymore. Our cash is non-existent, but we do have a fair few things to sell. So hopefully by the next time you see one of these episodes, which hopefully won't be that far away because boot sales are back on again this weekend. The weather looks to be decent enough that it's going to go ahead. Hopefully I can find something that we can put into the collection, or indeed that we can flip. If you have enjoyed this video and you want to see another one almost exactly like it, you can click here. And until the next time, goodbye.